Here's Frank Corrado, TSN hockey analyst, former Vancouver Canuck, who knows him about a prospect showcase or a prospect tournament or two. How are you, Frank?
Yeah, definitely been there a few times. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm good. It's people say that like silly season is when there's rumors floating around and so-and-so's going to go here and there and all kinds of crazy stuff is getting floated out there. I think there's an undercover silly season, and that is overanalyzing prospect games. And trying to put too much stock into prospect games. I think these are great for like fan engagement and people who have missed hockey, and you feel like you're connected to a certain prospect or prospects and you want to watch them play. But when it comes to like all these clips that are floating around out there and people talking about this guy had a good game, this guy had a bad game, it all doesn't matter this week. Like tomorrow, today, whatever happened in the prospect games, whether it was good, that's great. If you play like crap in training camp, no one cares. If you play bad in the prospect games and then all of a sudden you turn it on for training camp, great, no one cares. It's just it's like another little silly season among the regular season of hockey.
Didn't we uncover that you were the cover boy on the Prospects magazine for the Prospects camp at one point? Didn't we uncover that last year?
What does that tell you about the prospect pool at that time?
You were a cover boy. I mean, like, people probably had that in their lockers at one point, you know?
I remember the halcyon days when we were talking about this fifth-rounder Corrado from Sudbury who had already outperformed his draft slot.
Yeah,
sure,
exactly.
Sure. Yeah, that was the state of our prospect pool at that point. But the team had been, like, trying to win a
really
Stanley
good.
Cup.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It wasn't... Listen, I wasn't on the cover because of my straight teeth. That's for sure.
So Elias Pettersson played in that prospect tournament. We were a little surprised at that because that was a guy who looked like a made NHL man at the end of last year, and they didn't even send him to Abbotsford for the Calder Cup playoff run. Frankie, he's a young player who has outperformed his draft slot and matriculated to the NHL early here, just 21 years old. We're sitting here wondering, he played nearly 38% of the time on the right side last year. His offside. But, of course, Derek Forbort has played the right side 20% of the time last year. And newcomer Pierre-Olivier Joseph, who you may know from Pittsburgh, was right side, lefty playing the right side 31% of the time last year. How would you line him up? Would you want the young defenseman to play his appropriate side, or would you want to see if he can play that more valuable right side?
I don't think he has to play his strong side. The reality of being a left-handed shot and being a defenseman is there's just a lot of lefties, and not everyone comes in playing their strong side and then slides over to the offside. Some guys just find comfort in it right away. So I don't get too hung up on that. It just depends what you've done and your level of comfort. But when you look at all three of those guys, you can honestly say that Derek Forbort is who he is at this point. That's pretty much a done deal. P.O. Joseph, I would put into that category as well. Although,
fair.
He's athletic, he's got tools, but just I think as far as putting the package together, we're pretty much there. And so Elias Pettersson becomes the guy that you look at and you say, well, we're just getting started, and he's now in the conversation with these two guys, as far as where the jockeying for position goes. And I look at that and say, well, this guy's he's got way more upside, but can he help you now? And can he hit the upside that he could potentially have while helping you now? And having him play in a prospect game or whatever the tournament is now, I think it's changed from when I was there. In a way, it does help you kind of hit the ground running a little bit. Whatever kinks or, you're just getting back into the flow of game action, timing, you can work it out there. And then once you get going into regular training camp, you should have a little bit of a, I guess a foot ahead of the other guys. It doesn't always work that way, but you talked about how this is a guy who was on the NHL roster and then didn't go back down. That's my read on the situation. It's not, hey, we're putting you down there because we don't think you're ready to just show up at main camp. No, we're putting you down there because we believe that you have more to offer than a lot of these guys, but we want to help you achieve that by just giving you a little more runway.
Which is a more true statement. DPD should start on the left side on the third pair because you have to put a young player in the best position to succeed, or in the competition with Forbort and P.O. Joseph to win the right side job on your offside. He's just the most nimble right now. The youngest player, the most nimble. Maybe, if you're going to put a lefty over there that will periodically make a mistake, he's probably most capable of recovering from a mistake over the other two.
I always feel like the guy that's the most mobile should play his offside. Just the reality of the way you have to go back for pucks and the way you have to take pucks off the wall on your backhand, and even the way you kind of view the landscape of the ice. It's so much more different than when you're on your strong side. When you're on your strong side, it's there for you. You look up and there it is. Now when you're on your offside, you have to be more mindful of how you're scanning the ice because it's not the way your stick lines up and opens your body up that way. So I always was of the belief of, if you got a guy who's like taking your number one guy out of the equation, right? Because I think you always want to lead with your trump card as best as you can. So Quinn Hughes, most mobile left-handed shot, I'm not looking at him to play the right side because I want to put him in the best position to be a dominant force. But outside of that, I'm trying to pair, if I have this situation, I don't have righty-lefty, who's just a little more mobile, who's a little more agile, and who can, I guess, who can see the ice easier. Because sometimes it's just a matter of that split second where, hey, you didn't take that extra scan, and now you didn't see that a guy, has closed in on you quicker than you maybe thought. And I think the guy that's more mobile has a better chance of doing that.
And I agree, except game wisdom is something too, right? P.O. Joseph and Forbort have played many more NHL games, and they might have that game situational wisdom.
I actually think Forbort probably has that more than P.O. Joseph. I think Forbort is the more like the wily kind of cagey veteran, whereas P.O. Joseph has relied on his reach and feet and tools, let's say. So yeah, I think there's probably a distinction between Joseph and Forbort when it comes to who's like the cagier guy.
Tom Willander played 2 seasons at Boston University. He also had extensive experience back home in Sweden. Frank, how long should Tom Willander take to be an NHL-ready National Hockey League defenseman?
Like it shouldn't be that long. Like we should be kind of on the precipice of it, and now kind of seeing how he does, like making the jump. The thing about him is, like, he's got everything that you're looking for. He's big enough, he's fast enough, he's calm enough, moves the puck well enough, he's got a really good shot. So it's all there. I think now it's just about, from I guess the coach to player point of view, making him believe that he can make the jump, and keep in mind, like, take it. You have to take someone's job away from them, essentially, in order to really solidify yourself, and not looking back, not looking back and thinking like, am I going back down? Am I ready for this? And I think that's where it's like the 6 inches between the ears that really takes that last little bit for a player like that. Just believing you can actually grab it. But when you draft a guy that high, and keep in mind, like, they drafted him higher than Axel Sandin Pellikka, who's, not exactly a shoe-in to fit in Detroit's roster right about now either. So, like, relative to his peers, he's right where really he's supposed to be. But I think this year is going to be a big one for him as far as moving the needle and kind of showing like he is ready to make that jump, because it's not the tools that would concern me. It's all there. It's just wrapping your mind around, I'm taking this now and I'm not looking back.
The training camp lineups, as we see them roll out over these next few days, We don't really know what the line combinations are going to be. We've got some guesses, obviously. Given NHL camps are as short as they are now, should we put a little bit more stock into what Adam Foote is doing, or is the fact that it's a new head coach, though? I mean, he even though he's been there as an assistant before, does he deserve the opportunity to really cycle through some combinations and see what he wants?
So the first lineups that come out are the ones that they drew up a long time ago and said, "I can't wait to try this. This is my first one out. I can't wait to try it." And in my head, my theory is this is the right lineup. That's no one's going to do that lineup second or third or even fourth, whatever. Like you're getting what they've drawn up first. At the same time, oftentimes, like unless we have lines that we really know have been great in the past that you're just not touching. I can think of the top line in Winnipeg, top line in Tampa, right? There's countless examples of that. The Lotto line was like that for a long time in Vancouver. There's a lot of movement. Like there just is. And with a new coach, and I think he does deserve to see some things out and even say okay, this is what I thought it was going to be. Now let me move on to line combination 2 and 3 and see if that's what I think it's going to be and be proven right or wrong. And eventually you'll find hopefully anyways, you find the magic potion that works for you. But I think it's very telling. I do believe this. It's very telling when you see the first line combinations come out at training camp. That's what they think works.
I agree. And it's often what they default to later, too. Even if they might combo it up down the road, it's often what they fall back to.
Because there's just not enough time. You're right. There's just not enough time for everyone to gel. What are we, 3 days, and then we're into preseason games? That is quick. So you there's no time to waste by scattering guys up and down the preseason or training camp lineups.
And the other thing that I'm interested in, and this is the case this year, but I think going forward as well, is with fewer preseason games, and we've seen this in the NFL, some teams, particularly some of the better teams, kind of view the first couple weeks of the regular season as an extended training camp preseason, where they're figuring things out because they figured they'll be in the playoffs at the end of the year. Anyways, I think there's going to be some ground to make up for that mid-pack here. That if you're ready to go right from the hop, particularly if some teams are taking a more gradual approach to the regular season, there are points in the offing that are going to look pretty good in March and April if you're able to get off to a good start.
Yeah, don't tell the players and the coaches about that theory, though. You know what I mean? I feel like maybe management, if you gave them truth serum, they would maybe agree to something like that, where it's the regular season started, but we're still in this feeling out process. But for the coaches and the players, I think sometimes the product might look like that just because things aren't super ironed out yet. But the mentality is certainly not that way. They're basically starting, very rigid and ready to go, and we're not messing around. That starts. There's such a difference from the last day of the preseason to the first day of the regular season. It really is. The environment around the room, in practices, the tempo picks up for some reason. Everything's just a little more crisp. Everyone's a little more solidified in their spots. Of course, there's always going to be occasions where players are still trying to vie for a full-time job. They might get sent down to junior, might go down to the American League, but they're getting the first crack at it. But there's such a difference, I find, between just day-to-day from training camp or preseason to the first day of the regular season. And so, if you can hit the ground running, you can bank some points and maybe get the jump on some teams that might not have things sorted out yet, but everyone's going through the same thing. It's not really exclusive to one team or the other.
I love October hockey. I've always loved October hockey. One
goals, there's fun.
Yeah. One thing to note for next year when they go to 4 preseason games, guys, and this already happens with 6 preseason games. Frankie, there's going to be players that start every regular season that have not scored yet. Like goal scorers that, because they're only going to get into 1 or 2 preseason games next year, have not lit the lamp yet. They haven't had that feeling yet. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that affects a goal
That's what
scorer.
I'm saying. When I say go forward, like you're telling me in a world of 4 or 5 preseason games, that Stanley Cup champions that come back intact are going to be playing their players in those games and not treating the first couple of weeks of October as extended.
There
they
might be
will
teams
be.
that. There might be
For
teams
sure
that
they
start
will
the
be.
season with 2 preseason goals. Like as a team, like if they struggle with those 4 games, like the whole team has scored 2 goals in the preseason and then they're in.
Keep in mind they're going to have to play a certain amount of vets still, right? Like that's going to be consistent. The other thing, I think what will happen when we eliminate half the preseason games is the guys who were going to play 3 games or 4 games, it might be 2 or 3. Like you might maybe X out one of them.
Yeah.
But it's all these guys that were absolutely going to the American League and wear a number that you've never seen before on that jersey. Like those are the guys that just aren't going to play the games where, some teams roll it out this way. If it's 8 games, 4 at home, 4 on the road, the NHL guys will play the 4 games at home or 3 games at home, and the AHL guys will play the games on the road, and then at the conclusion of it, they'll send 45 guys away from camp and say, see you later,
Yes.
and we have our team. So we're not going to get that, right?
Yeah.
Like those are the guys we won't see anymore. But if you were pick a player, like if you were Sasha Barkov and you liked playing 3 preseason games, you could probably still play 3. Maybe you'll play 2,
I think
but
you'll play 2.
that's not gonna really change things that much for a guy like Sasha Barkov. But Buddy, who wants the Getty Images picture of himself in the Florida Panthers uniform so he could put it on Instagram and say, what a great time at camp, see you guys in Charlotte, that's the guy who maybe gets the short end of the stick.
R.I.P. the Instagram post with the nice Getty Images photo.
You're going to need to get a
great
practice
job
jersey.
at Getty.
Yeah.
Exactly. Setting aside whatever qualms you or your fan base may have about signing one of these former Canadian World Junior players, and assuming he has kept himself in decent playing shape, Dylan Dube has played some center. It was mostly wing, but has played some center over the years with the Calgary Flames. We know there are a lot of teams, including the Vancouver Canucks, that are looking to beef up their quality and or quantity at center ice. Can he be a helpful player? Did what you see of him before he had to leave the NHL look to you like a quality NHL forward?
Yes, but keep in mind that's a little while ago, and it was pointed out that I think he's got 7 goals over his last 2 years of hockey, something like that, between the KHL and the year where he had to stop playing for Calgary. And then 18 the 2 prior years, and basically a 50-point player at that point when he was at his best. So I would say this. He probably is a 50-point player, a 20-goal scorer when everything's going well. It's going to take him, I think, a little while to get back up to where he was, especially playing at the NHL level. It's different than the KHL. I played in both. The tempo, it's different at the NHL. I also do believe that the stark, difference in production would have had something to do with what he was going through. It's not easy to play, like regardless of what everyone thinks of the situation. It's not easy to play professional hockey when you have this, what that was, looming and constantly on your mind. So I don't think he's a 7 goals over 2 years of hockey player. Like that's not who he is. He's probably closer to the 18 to 20 goal scorer, but I wouldn't expect that to happen right away, just because he's back in the NHL. You're probably going to have to look at it and say, we'll give you this year, we'll give you next year, and then we want to see you back to that. And we'll see if he can get there, whoever gives him that opportunity.
Yeah. Lastly, from me, Frank, we, of course, are accustomed to being the NHL's biggest soap opera. We're again last year, filled your cups. Thank you very much. Sidney Crosby, Connor McDavid, Kirill Kaprizov, Quinn Hughes. Whose future do you think will turn into the bigger NHL drama this season?
So I think what comes with that is market and visibility, that usually lends itself to, being more dramatic. So I don't know if, even though Kaprizov is such a good player, I don't know how dramatic that gets. I think it just turns into, he doesn't want to sign in Minnesota. He'll probably go somewhere else and he'll make $19 million if he wants to. Or he'll take, 16 somewhere else just because it's somewhere he really wants to be. The McDavid thing gets squashed really quickly if there's an extension, but there's no extension. So that stands to be, I think, the most dramatic if we start getting into halfway through the year and then Olympic break and then trade deadline and like, whoa, boy, what are we doing here? I think the Crosby thing, no one's kidding themselves on what Pittsburgh is. So I don't think that gets overly dramatic either. And then Quinn Hughes, we can connect the dots on what that might look like down the road. So there's no not to say that there's no wow factor, but we see what the point A to point B looks like. For McDavid, I think it just keeps getting amplified and amplified, even though he'll do everything as the season starts to say not talking about it anymore, but everyone around.
No, it's a fantastic point that it's the McDavid destination that I think is the biggest mystery here, if there is a destination, and that's what may make him.
And what does he want to see? What does he want to see from Edmonton?
Yeah,
and someone pointed out to me, this could be the last healthy year of Ekholm. And if you look at the blue line without Ekholm, what are we doing? Right? He's the glue there. So anyways, the
Crosby competitive itch gets scratched. He's got 2 years to go. The Crosby competitive itch gets to get scratched by the Olympics this year. I wonder if we don't see really this story hit the ground until next summer, maybe, for Crosby. Because then he's got an empty year for nothing.
And then it's going to depend on who they draft. If they're really bad and they win the lottery and they draft McKenna, which I don't think they're going to be bad enough to do, but
they want the mentor, and they might win the lottery though.
If they draft McKenna, then you're like, well, he's staying put. He's going to do the Mario thing.
You're right.
If they don't, then I think the door remains open for something different.
Yeah.
We'll watch with interest. You'll be along for the ride on Wednesdays, Frank. Thank you for this. Until next week.
All right, boys. See ya.